Welcome to the Echo and Encourage podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Abbott, and I am so honored to introduce to you today Connor O'Hare. Connor is a sixth grade teacher at an elementary school. He received his multiple subject credential from Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, California. He has his bachelor's in business administration from Cal Poly as well. He's interested in being active, exercising, singing, writing music, reading, playing golf, and baseball. Sounds like a home run to me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. So happy that you came. So Connor is a teacher at where I had my last speech pathology travel assignment. And so happy he came to the Latin dance podcast party, which stay tuned. We're working on the episode from that still to air. And it's been wonderful to be neighbors at work and see how he works with my shared caseload. And I'm so excited for you to learn from him today.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Let's get going.
Woohoo! What is your sports background?
So I played sports like all growing up through my whole life. Like some of my earliest memories are holding a golf club, swinging a baseball bat, throwing a ball. So I've always had sports in my life all through. But I was able to take it to the college level and play baseball all through college and help pay for some of my schooling. So it was really fun. And then ultimately got to end up coaching as well once I finished playing.
That's incredible. How did you figure out the whole scholarship application?
It was kind of presented to me. So once I got to Cal Poly, I was a walk-on player there and then kind of earned the scholarship by my work ethic and how I was as a teammate to my fellow teammates and just like being part of the culture.
That's so neat. And what league did you teach?
So taught baseball for the SLO Blues, was a coach for the SLO Blues one summer. It was 2017. And then also coached at Cal Poly for a season. So the 2016 season.
Do you get those baseball cards with your picture on it?
No.
Oh, okay. At summer camp, we had baseball trading cards and all of us staff had our picture on it. And that's why I asked.
Dang, we should have some sort of promotion like that, though. That's pretty cool.
That would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still play baseball?
Yeah, I do. So there's a men's league that they have in the area. We play down in Arroyo Grande, San Luis Obispo on Sundays. So there's a league of like 6 teams and we just go out and play.
Neat.
Yeah.
How has sports shaped your resilience?
Well, first of all, it's just been the whole journey itself. Like I idolized a lot of pro basketball players and baseball players when I grew up, and I wanted to be like them. And going through, I wasn't the most athletic person, wasn't the most talented person. So from an early age, like I really had to learn that you have to put in the work, you have to give your best each day. You can't rely on talent to get you through to the next levels. You have to put in the time and the work. So I learned that pretty early on when I was 11 or 12. I got, cut from an all-star team, didn't get to make it. And I thought I had worked hard enough to be there. But ever since then, I realized that I have to put in this extra work. I have to work harder than all of the other players out there to get noticed and seen. So you put in those extra hours, you go and do what needs to be done when nobody's watching. It's like integrity of like doing what nobody is willing to do the right thing when no one else is watching. Mm-hmm. And I just loved baseball so much. I loved it. And I wanted to spend every hour of my day outside of school doing that. So it was pretty easy, the resilience part. It didn't feel like resilience. I didn't feel like there was anything that I had to put up with, like the pressure of, there's so much outside pressure going with it. I enjoyed putting those extra hours and it didn't feel like any extra work for me.
That's beautiful. What shaped you to, you mentioned, do the right thing when nobody's watching. Mm-hmm. Do you have a faith background or what gave you that perspective?
Just from my teachers growing up, like they always showed the way, and I do believe in God, but I'm just not sure what faith he or she resides in. So I do believe that there is a God. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. This is beautiful. So when you work with students and maybe there's PE or sports related activities, what sorts of things do you tell them when they lose?
Well, first of all, especially at the elementary school level, I try to stay away from winning and losing altogether, because in the grand scheme of their life, these games don't matter. So it's promoting good sportsmanship, making sure that you're always shaking hands after, and, you know, promoting good sportsmanship. And if they do lose, like let's say they're on a club tournament and they come back from the weekend, they say, hey, like we had this tournament and we lost. You know, they obviously are visibly upset about it. Okay, well, did you give your best effort? What are some things that you could have done during the game that you can reflect on to make yourself better for the next time you play them? Because a lot of the times they're playing the same teams over and over again, especially in soccer in the area. So they come back and they're like, oh, we played our rivals this weekend. We lost like 4-0. And then you break it down. You try to dissect what parts of the game they played well in, what parts of the game they maybe could improve on. And then you set up an opportunity for them to reflect on it and that they can get better.
That's powerful. I really like how there's balance there when it comes to talking about the strengths and what went well and that positive self-talk and
For sure.
supporting their self-esteem, and then helping the analytical side of their brain really figure out things. Because a lot of times we can get stuck somewhere and not push through to keep growing, or we can get stuck in negative self-talk.
For sure. And I've had to deal with that a lot, the negative self-talk, because when somebody tells you that you're not good enough to maybe progress into some avenue that you are really interested in, you're always going to hear that voice in the back of your head or some entity saying you're not good enough, you're not good enough. So combating that, being resilient, is you have to have a strong will, but then also you have to have that belief in yourself, like knowing that you're doing everything that you can to do what you want to do.
Yeah. So what are some things you do when that negative self-talk comes up? How do you combat that?
Well, first of all, like I've gotten to the point in my life where I know it's not the true self that's coming through. And now that I've realized that, I know some different breathing techniques to kind of take me down a level where it's like, okay, I need to calm down a little bit because these thoughts are a little too high amplified, I guess. Exercise is a great way to release that extra energy that you have within. So running, working out, any sort of activity outside, playing golf, going on hikes, doing anything active, that kind of takes my mind away from it. And also just listening to music, finding the right vibe of music for what you're feeling.
So that's really great, because that's a variety of strategies that you can do some when you're at work, or anybody can do at work or on vacation.
Yeah.
You can pick and choose.
And it's nice too, having those in, let's say, a bag of tools, like a tool bag in a classroom, because there's different ways that you can connect with the students depending on what they need at that time. So let's say, okay, negative self-talk, they're talking down about their writing, or they're, you know, they didn't do well on a math score. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Why are you having these feelings? Why are you saying these things? First of all, it's not true, because you have so much potential to keep growing and potential to become better. So let's figure out what went wrong here. Was it study habits? Was it the material was too tough? And then go from there. Now, okay, so maybe some students need to work independently. Let them throw some music on. They can get into their work solely independently so that they can kind of disassociate from the classroom and really focus on what's in front of them. So music's great. Sometimes we'll just take a quick break outside. I can tell that the energy in the classroom is maybe a little too high for the lesson that's going on. So then I'll say, hey, you have 2 minutes. Let's go run outside real quick. When I, blow the whistle, you're coming back in, and then we'll settle back in. So little brain breaks like that too.
I think we all need that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, like, especially in today's society, people are so used to sitting in front of a computer all day, not able to communicate their feelings or what's going on in a collaborative setting. So like being in the school atmosphere, it it's a supercharged setting for that. So coming from a professional field into where I'm at now, the collaboration, it's infinite, where you can really go any direction that you want with the students. Like they catch on to any sort of inspiration that you put out there for them.
That's wonderful. I'm just thinking about the golf courses in Hawaii. I was on the girls' golf team there. We never played a game though, because there was only a few of us, but we got to go on all of the courses for free with the guys.
That's nice.
It was so nice. Yes. What's the best course around here?
There's a few. So I really like going to Morro Bay. Morro Bay's golf course is nice because it's right on the ocean and the bluffs out there. Monarch Dunes is a really nice course. Cypress Ridge. And then I usually go out to Dairy Creek just because it's affordable for me right now. And it's a shorter course. It's only 9 holes. So you can go out, you can play a quick 9 in the morning and come back. So golf takes a long time.
Yeah, it's so fun, in my opinion. I enjoy golf.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I would like to find my golf club. I have not golfed in a while. Okay, I'm going to look at this question. Okay. Working in the field of education at an elementary school, you often have to deal with discipline. And I personally have witnessed how you take a student once in a while out of your classroom and talk to them. And it looks like it's a really healthy way to do things because it's not in front of the students in the class. And I'm wondering, are you able to share with us some of your strategies for other educators or parents to do when it comes to disciplining so that it's out of a lens of love and not shaming?
For sure. So taking them outside to talk individually, it kind of takes that shame piece out because you're not like putting them on blast in front of the entire rest of the class. Now, it also brings attention to them by going outside. So there's going to be that pressure, but they're not going to hear what's going on.
Right.
So you're having that one-on-one interaction of like, okay, this is what I saw. It wasn't appropriate. It was disrespectful. It was something along those lines where it disrupted the flow of the class. And so there's different occasions. So it could be, students are getting up too much out of their seat when they shouldn't be, and they're causing distractions by going over to other students' desks when instruction's going on. So that's usually a time where I'll kind of pull them aside before recess time where it's not too crucial of a moment in the lesson. So it's picking and choosing the right times to do it. Now, sometimes a situation is a little more escalated where you have to go out and handle it right then and there. So you go out and you go, okay, such and such student, that's something that is not socially acceptable. That's something that will get you into trouble later in life. This is something that will be looked down upon by your friends and peers, and you will lose friends because of the way that you're acting. So that's the lens of love that you kind of have to start looking through because one of my students mentioned it as like the big brother vibe. So it's like, if you look at from a perspective of they are a younger sibling and you want to guide them to be the best that they can be, you have to share with them some tough advice that maybe they're not reciprocal ready to hear yet, but you have to share it with them at that moment because that's the time to share it with them. So they hear you sometimes, and sometimes they'll kind of check out and they'll be like, oh, Mr. O'Hare is just, rambling on and yelling at me again. And it's like, no, that's not where I'm trying to come from. I'm coming from a place where course correction. So you've gone off track a little bit. Let's go back onto track so that you can stay focused, have a better sustained stamina so that you can ultimately, like the curriculum itself is just a platform for learning. So yes, there's it's like a prerequisite to being an adult. Like you have to know certain information to go out into the world. Now, the actual process of learning can go in infinite directions. So sharing with them that if they can't have a sustained focus in the classroom, they're distracting others. That's social standards that they're not connecting with that will set them back when they're older. But then also it's setting aside like their focus to where they can't find something that they're really passionate about.
That is very insightful and good work. I've, worked with a lot of educators in my short time, but it's since 2018 working in the field. That is really insightful. I've worked in the field of speech pathology since 2018, and before that working in different schools, and then interactions even in like Sabbath school for a church. And I've witnessed different teaching styles or corrective feedback. And I think that the one that you're doing is very healthy, and your students are really blessed to have you do that. And I know that we have wonderful people that we work with, and I hope that the whole world can learn these strategies in parenting and in teaching, anything with helping people to grow. It's very beautiful, because then the heart is ready to accept that and then to grow.
Well, I kind of want to build off of what you were just saying right there. So there's that side of it where you have to have that one-on-one connection, but then there's also banter that you can have with the whole class, where it's that lighthearted joking, where it's more of the group setting. So it's like, okay, I notice a group is maybe checked out a little bit. You can have a quick joke with them, and then they're receptive to that information, where it's like, oh, we need to get back on track. Because like those are usually, let's say, the higher students, the ones that the work is maybe a little slow for them, so they're able to finish it quicker than the rest of the class. So then they become distracted a different way. So then it's like, okay, how are you going to facilitate growth? How are you going to facilitate once some activities are done? So that's the differentiation piece. That's when it becomes, okay, now let's have some communication on like making you more emotionally mature, more socially mature, because it's not just curriculum. It's about that social maturity and being able to interact with anybody at any given moment in time.
Yes. Did they teach you that in school?
Yeah, we had social emotional development and learning classes that we had to take. Yeah.
That is awesome.
And also psychology courses. So those are all prerequisites to get into the teaching program. So you have to have some sort of like psychological background of young children to be able to get into this field, for sure.
Yes. What got you into the field of teaching, and you have a degree in business administration?
So yeah, I worked in an accounting firm. So I got my degree business administration with the focus in accounting. And I went with it. I'd spent 5 years doing that at post-college, and realized I didn't have that purpose. I didn't have that drive of something that was like really inspiring for me in my life. So I was like, okay, gym and exercise were that, but it wasn't enough. So I spent a lot of time talking with my family about like what course to go down. And it took, a couple years. Took a few years to really get back on my feet in that sense. I quit my job. I was unemployed for a while, and then I found jobs progressively through that. So went to another accounting firm, started doing like bookkeeping, and then realized, okay, I need to get out of this field. So what types of jobs can I do that are fun, on your feet, interactive? So started working at a restaurant for a while. And that was just like kind of fun, just enjoying time with people that were my age, getting to just reacclimated back to kind of like the social setting of the world. And then had nice long talks with my family, my mom and my grandparents, and what I can really find as a career. And we settled on, teaching is it.
Wow.
So I got into that by working at a middle school as a social emotional behavior aide. So that was like my first step into the door. So I was working at Laguna, Los Osos middle schools, and I had a caseload of students where they were the emotionally troubled, the ones that were cutting class, fighting all the time. I had my caseload of them, and I had to basically like be a big brother and make sure that they were going to class, make sure that they weren't skipping school, make sure that they were on task in lessons, trying to make it fun for them. And then the teachers at one of the schools specifically, they really kind of gave me an opportunity into teaching. Like they helped me by giving me a platform to start just interacting in a teaching sense. There were a couple teachers there that saw that I wanted to be that, and they expanded my role besides what was on my contract, essentially.
That's really wonderful that they saw that and then they helped foster that spark in you. Wow. What is your job satisfaction like now compared to what it was back then?
It's not even comparable.
Yeah.
It's not comparable at all. This doesn't feel, it feels like work, but there's definitely long days at the job, but the purpose behind it, like I really feel like all I want to do is leave this impact where every single person that I interact with has something that they can take with them, where they can learn something, where they can find some sort of direction to go into, some sort of passion.
What would you say to somebody who is maybe at where you're at, or not where you're at now, but when you were wanting to switch careers and they may be feeling apprehensive about it, or, you know, thinking about what others may think, or the time that was spent investing in the first career? What are some words?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, you know, you spend 5 years, you get your degree, and you think that that's where the rest of your life is going to go. So then that dissatisfaction of, okay, this isn't working out the way that I thought it would. It takes a lot of courage. You have to have a good foundation of people that you can count on and rely on and have talks with and have those deeper conversations, because you shouldn't have to go through something like that alone. So being able to communicate what you're feeling, understand that you're unhappy, understand that, okay, maybe I do need to go in a new direction. It's totally okay. There's people that have multiple careers that go through, and it's like, I think generationally, some people, it's like the generation before us, really kind of set in their ways of like, I'm going to do this for my whole life, and that's how our life's going to go, and settle in. And that's great if you're wired that way. Right. But some people aren't.
Nope. I am not wired that way.
Some people aren't wired that way. So it's like, okay, the freer spirits, they have multiple talents. The freer spirits they want to travel the world. So there's now, especially with the way that technology is, the way that you can have pretty much access to anywhere in the world, you can find different jobs, find different career paths that can take you anywhere you want to go.
That's right. Yes. Wonderful. And one of the great things about being in education, or being a speech therapist or occupational therapist in the field of education, is that we get summers off to do those hobbies. Do you want to share a bit about what you're going to do this summer?
Yeah, I'm moving to Chicago actually tomorrow.
Wow. So okay, we're recording this, what day is it? June 9. So thanks for your patience with this publishing, listeners. But so June 10, Chicago.
So June 10, I'll be in Chicago, and I'm going out there with just a sense of, I want to explore. I want to experience a big city. I've never really lived in an environment like that. And I really think that culturally, I'll be bringing back some experiences that will help in the classroom.
Yes. I spent once a month in Chicago for part of my undergrad. It was a group of me and my friends living in Berrien Springs. We would go and work with people who are homeless in Chicago. And I loved being with them. They taught me so much. They were so resilient and kind, and they had dreams too, and even were working on them from the streets, writing a book. So what hobbies or activities are you going to be focusing on in Chicago?
Writing music is probably going to be my major sit down, focus, and get work done, and then becoming bilingual in Spanish. So those are the two main goals that I have while I'm out there in the time where it would be like a work day. So I noticed this year that our demographic, I knew that beforehand, but the demographic at our school is 50-50 Hispanic and white. So being able to connect with parents during conferences, being able to comprehend what they're sharing with you, I think is so much more powerful, and I need that skill. So that's a skill that I'm trying to work on, and I've been doing it throughout the school year. And now that we have some time off, like I can really hunker down and get going on that some more, so that I can have a genuine conversation with parents without a translator there. Because sometimes when you're talking with a parent, you know, you're talking to the parent, waiting for the translator to translate what you're saying, watching the reaction of the parent to see if they're receiving the information the way that you're coming across with the tone. So there's a lot going on in those meetings where if you're able to communicate with them one-to-one, I think the information is received a little bit easier.
Yes, that is a very powerful perspective. I want to practice my Spanish more now. Tú lo puedes hacer. That is going to make your meetings go smoothly. Wonderful. Yes. So you write music, and I've heard that you write poetry. Is the poetry in the music, or is that separate?
It's both. I mean, sometimes, so I'll be, let's say, exercising, and I'll hear a beat in the background at the gym, and I'll get inspired. So I'll write a quick, they call them bars. So it's like I write a quick 8 bars or something. So it's like 8 lines. And then other times I'll sit down at night where there's nothing going on, and I'll be reflecting on the day, and I'll just break my journal out and write a poem.
Would you be willing to share a bar or some of your poetry or music?
Sure. Yeah, I have one prepared. It's called Mountaintops.
Ooh. This is going to be awesome. I love poetry.
Okay. So it was inspired. I was sitting outside and I saw a hawk flying over Bishop's Peak.
Ooh.
So this was the inspiration for that. Okay, so it's called Mountaintops. Present stillness, warmth from sun rays and drifting butterflies. In between this thought and that moment, allowing both of them to scatter. We do anything for the ones we love, some things you just can't compromise. Become one with stillness, a blank canvas, nothing matters. I've sensed this before, been here before, and seen it in my dreams. Hawks soar proudly over mountaintops, cutting through the breeze. Can we actually turn such clear visions to realities? I am entranced in a rhapsody when you're squeezed up next to me. My love for you is real. I howl it at the suns and moons from the tops of any summit. I'll whisper it to you too, even to myself at times unattended. I speak my full existence, and anything I want, I will become it. You're an angel from within the shimmering diamond gates you have descended. From the ether into present, as a presence, my gift is creation, this ain't pretending. Thoughts from a dream weaver, endless possibilities of bliss and peace is what will be trending.
Wow. That was gold. Wow. Okay. Have you read this at a poetry event yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay. That's going to be wonderful when you do that there someday too. That was so beautiful, Connor. And you got that from looking at the hawk over Bishop's Peak.
Yep.
And then did it kind of download to you there and you had to write it out, or was it later that you really were able to get it all out?
So the inspiration comes in mountaintops. It's like, okay, I have an idea of, it's the hawk soaring. So that's the kind of the main gist. And then I let it flow from there. Mm-hmm. So it became more of like, okay, the love within, being able to share the love outwardly. Mm-hmm. And that's what it came to.
Oh my goodness. Can I look really quick to see if I have one of my poems?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was my experience taking a lifeguarding class in Hawaii. It was pretty intense. Okay.
So it was like junior guards?
It was being an actual lifeguard.
Okay.
So they really trained us tough. Yeah.
Yeah, they have crazy shore breaks out there.
Ooh. Ooh, yes, it was intense. So, okay, here goes. This is called junior or senior.
Junior, senior.
3 weeks of sweat, blood, bruises, and nightmares. I tried as I cried, will I ever pass? The local boys strangle me underwater. I make my escape as I claw their nipples. Water rushes into my nostrils as I inhale. What keeps me going is the Uncle Bob certified lifeguard shirt that will only come in the end. Its vibrant honey yellow color strikes the common eye as people realize you are a trained senior lifeguard. The word lifeguard is printed boldly in bright red. Uncle Bob yells, Uncle Bob hugs. Uncle Bob is missing fingers from the war. He is intense. This experience is intense. Graduation has come. My name has been called. As I receive my shell lay, I look down at my certificate. I smile because the words junior lifeguard are nowhere to be found. I laugh because my name is spelled wrong. I now wear my bright yellow shirt, practicing CPR on dummies. I take a deep breath in and wonder how I'll react when all of this practice turns into a real life or death situation. Will I panic or will I pass?
Yeah, I like that reflection at the end where it's turning it into the real life situation. Because at the beginning of your poem, it sounded like almost a dream or a nightmare that you're probably having during the training for it.
Yeah.
Is that what was kind of coming from that?
Yes.
Yeah. So one thing that I've noticed through just life is dreams and journeys, they correlate with each other. So it kind of portrays like the dreams, if you're having those nightmares and having bad experiences in the dreams, that's your subconscious trying to course correct so that when you wake up the next morning, you have that filter of like, I don't want that to happen.
Right.
Life or death kind of deal. Like you're clawing underwater. You're not able to escape the water. And then what happens when that happens is you drown. And that's like the scariest thing ever. The water, comes into your lungs. You can't do anything about it. So it's like, how do I escape that?
Right.
And then it's like, okay, now you go through the boot camp and the train. That's really nice.
Those are good thoughts. I love thinking about dreams and trying to figure out what they mean and how our body works through that. This was taken from real experiences. I grew out my fingernails, and I did that to the big guys to get freed, because what they did was, it was late at night outside in a pool, dark, and they would choke hold us underwater, and when they're all splashing us in the deep end, and you have to prove you can pull down, move your head, and push. And so with my nails, I was able to dig into them more. And you have to be in the chokehold from behind and from the front. And one of my peers got her front tooth knocked out.
Oh my gosh.
So it was very intense.
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure that even if a big local boy was about to strangle me in panic in a future lifeguarding situation, that I would be able to, get out, punch them, knock them out, and then be able to rescue them. And so the training was very rigorous.
So is that training for rescue? So like if you're out in the water, and why would somebody be choking you if you're trying to save them?
Yeah, that's one thing that is really, really sad and interesting to study. So sometimes people panic when they're drowning, and they're not thinking rationally. I lost a friend to drowning. I wasn't at the scene, but definitely mourning that at work. And he didn't know how to swim. A friend was rescuing him, and he panicked, and the friend had to break away. And so it's good to learn how to, how can we get ourselves safe from a situation where somebody's attacking us out of fear or a panic response. And then you got to make that choice. Like, are you able to knock them out and then go back and rescue them? Sometimes it's not physically possible because of the current. It's too strong, or you're out of breath from fighting them off when you're trying to help. So it's a real it's a real tough situation. And I just encourage any listener, if you're an adult or you're younger, please take your swim lessons. It's so worth it to invest in that. I know some adults that are still afraid of swimming, but it's worth it to conquer that fear because it could save your life, and your example of overcoming that could save another person's life in the future. And
sure.
That was my friend's mom's words. She said the only thing she would have done different was to get her son swim lessons. And so, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's intense.
What would you say are some ways that people can express their emotions in a healthy way?
So many different avenues. The one that I really kind of gravitated towards this year was with writing. So we had, during our daily 5 time, you have reading groups, writing. So I would give them journal prompts some of them were narratives. So it's write a story about the certain topics. It has to include these types of features, have certain characters. But then you can get into like deeper concepts. You can talk about characterization. You can talk about emotions. Have their characters and their stories expressing themselves. Then you can have social emotional journal entries too, where they can practice reflecting and talking about that. Friendships, we have caring community in the mornings where we go through a curriculum and we talk about how it means to, social emotional awareness, how to be a good friend, what happens if there's drama, what happens if there's bullying, cyberbullying, all sorts of ways to express through writing. Okay, you can go through sports. So you set the foundation for them, though, saying that, okay, sports are great. However, you have to be a student first. So it's like you have to share with them that effort in the classroom will translate to you being able to play outside. And a lot of students, they just want to play. Mm-hmm. So having that outlet to get that energy out is a great way to handle emotions, to deal with that, especially if it's like football, or it's more of an aggressive sport. Let's say a student is more troubled and angry. Kickboxing, martial arts, some sort of discipline where they can learn a technique, they can learn something, but it's helpful for them. It also helps them deal with internal emotions.
That's a great variety of things. It's like looking at a menu.
Exactly.
At a great restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes. What would you say to people that stuff their emotions, maybe are not comfortable expressing sorrow, grief, anger, even joy or happiness, bliss?
Yeah. And I've had students that were that way too, where there's only so much you can do by saying like, I care about you all and I want the best for you all. And some of them are going to shut you down, mm-hmm. no matter what you do. And they're going to repress, they're going to do what they do to handle it. So obviously there's like avenues, SST meetings that you can set up for like success teams, mm-hmm. noticing that something is going on where they're not academically excelling where they could be because of something emotional that's happening, mm-hmm. talking to the counselors on campus, all of the tools and resources and people that are certified to be able to talk and maybe open the box, I guess, mm-hmm. of whatever emotions that they're stuffing inside.
Yeah.
Or you could just talk to them and say, hey, I noticed that maybe you were a little off today. Mm-hmm. Like, is everything okay? And just feeling seen.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of this. Connor, how can our listeners connect with you?
You could come hang out with me at Fairgrove Elementary School if you're a student. I don't know. I don't have any social media or any way to connect. So I guess on the Hannah Abbott podcast.
Woohoo! Yes. Write your questions and your comments, and then we'll invite Connor again to come on the podcast. And thank you to our coworkers listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, and our friends. What's one way that we can echo eternity or encourage others?
Echo eternity or encourage others. I think just like sharing your experience. So if you show up to any sort of situation as your full self and you have an interaction with somebody, it tends to leave a lasting impact. Like I know when I meet people that are, when I'm in the right mindset and open to receiving information, you remember that person. So no matter where you are, who it is, that part of them is going to be part of you now. And then it becomes part of it. It changes your lens of how you view life. So shout out to all of my mentors that I've had over the years, because everything that I've learned from that is an accumulation of who I am now. So that lives on through me.
Yes.
So now when I go about my walk of life now, I share that. So it becomes eternal as it just goes through from one person to the next.
That's good. I'm doing the poetry snaps for anybody who can't see. But if you're listening to this on the podcast version and not the video version. All right. Thank you so much, Connor, for coming on the podcast. You're welcome. It's been an honor. And I'm so excited for you to go to Chicago, go after your dreams. So excited that my caseload, that they're in your hands, and they've always been in your hands. But I'm just so encouraged that they get to stay with you. And thank you for what you do as an educator, how you are an example for going after your dreams and you didn't let fear stop you, and for putting your family in the forefront and the mix and relying on their input to support you, teaching children about their emotions and how to express that, and modeling to children how they're supposed to grow and develop in a healthy way, which is an example that not all children in the world get from parents. So you're not only a big brother figure, then you're also like a father figure for some, probably. And so you are doing such great things. Keep me posted about any more poetry that launches or your music when you decide to make that public.
For sure.
And thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.